Mikel, to mark your new contract as Arsenal manager, we wanted to look back. We wanted to look back 5 years to your first interview with us as Arsenal manager. Firstly, the 5 years, not necessarily to the interview, but the 5 years in the job, feel like 5 years, feel like 5 minutes? How's it been?
It doesn't feel like 5 years. It's gone really fast. Obviously, a lot has happened. It's been a fascinating journey. I enjoyed it so much. It was my first job, probably one of the biggest in world football. I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to show you some clips from the interview 5 years ago, and we'll see if you feel the same now as you did back then.
You have to be careful with your dreams because sometimes they come true, you know. And when I left here, I had this dream, and sooner than expected, but I'm here.
When it came up, I know it was the right thing for me to do. You know, I could not stop myself of taking the step. And there were some big fears involved, you know. It's your first job, it's in the middle of the season, it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. And as well, because I felt so responsible, but as well, I was so enthusiastic, and I believed that we could do it. We had the right people to do it, and I had to jump on that boat and try to deliver.
Do you know what? I love the line. I just love that line where you talk about essentially being careful what you wish for. I guess because once you get the dream, then you've got to act on it. Yeah. Then you've got to turn it into some sort of beautiful reality.
Yeah.
So, and you just used the word fear there. So as much as it's everything you ever wanted, you're quite scared as well, I guess.
Yeah. It's something new. Huge expectations, you never done it. It is a life experience that affects your personal life, affects your family, affects your mood, your mental and physical state, but at the same time is my passion, is what I love doing it, and I love doing it in the club that I love. So what else do I want?
Yeah, that's interesting though. I mean, how big is the effect on your family? Is it, I guess, in a sense, you all need to be on board with this. It's something that affects you all hugely.
No, we have found a way.
Yeah.
Probably that it suits more me than my wife and the kids, but we are in a really good place. I think we find a way to deal with that. I think I'm more capable now of dealing with a lot of situations in the past. Probably was taking too much energy out of me as well, but yeah, you have to go through that journey.
A 37-year-old man taking one of the biggest jobs in world football in a foreign country, if you kind of step back, I mean, that's terrifying.
It is, and especially in the conditions and the context that the club was at that moment, one of the most difficult moments in the history of the club. But that was the opportunity as well. And because I left it here before, and I knew and how incredible it was and the potential that it had, probably I was a bit naive, but I thought, we're going to do it. And I had so much energy. That's a good thing about being young, so much energy and belief that I was going to jump and go through a brick wall.
And I guess sometimes it's actually best to not know what's ahead. It helps you throw yourself into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you need the right people around you, you know. And I've been gifted to have so unbelievable people around me working every single day, give me trust, give me confidence, give me advice, making me better. And then the players at the end. And once we did those two things, and then we started to connect with our supporters, they started to believe in what we were doing, then something nice happened.
Absolutely, we need to connect again the team with the fans. I sense in the last few seasons there's been a big disconnection, and we're losing a lot of power. I said before that they are probably the most important part of the football club. It's going to take some time, the process, but hopefully we can start to engage them a little bit again.
Thoughts?
Yeah, they are the soul of this football club. That's the way I have described them. And that's the reality. That's why we do what we do, to give joy to people, to feel part of something and to have that sense of belonging. And the same with every staff, every employee at the football club. And when you manage to do that, you bring joy.
The Emirates is a place transformed in the last few years. I actually remember a game, I think it was early in the season, 2 seasons ago against Fulham, and I remember it because it was, in a way, such a normal match. You know, it wasn't the North London derby. It wasn't Manchester United with respect to Fulham. Do you remember the game? I think Gabriel gave away a goal. You went 1-0 down.
I remember.
And it was, I just remember being sat there being really struck by how the crowd stayed with you. So when do you think it changed? How long did it take? And as you said already, COVID.
After
probably was a
COVID,
block
and
for a
after
while.
COVID, and after the win we had against Chelsea, Emil was a big contributor to that because he created some certain connection as well, academy supporters. And after that, they started to see how the team was acting, the values that we were representing, the kind of players and people that we had at the club. And something happened there. But yeah, it was a really thin line, and the timing worked out, because if not, it wouldn't have been a problem.
So the last clip we're going to show you, I asked you a question about ambition, about trying to get back in the top 4 then. And let's have a look at it, because it's very interesting what you say, because your ambitions were a lot loftier than that.
This club deserves nothing else but excellence, and excellence is to be the best every single day. And the demand for this football club has to be like this, and everybody that jumps through that door has to understand that that's what we're going to be requiring, and the demands on us have to be this. You know, if we fell short, it's because we don't have the level, the capacity, or because someone else was better than that. But the aim has to be that.
So it's not just about getting Arsenal back to being a regular top 4. You want to go beyond that.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a long process, and a lot of things have to be done right, because I think now we talked about a lot with the directors, and the margin for error at the moment is very, very short, because the gap is getting bigger and bigger, you know, so we have to make a lot of decisions, and a lot of good decisions.
Bold, Mikel, but right. So how big was the challenge to close the gap? Liverpool won the league.
Well, the first thing that we need to acknowledge is that it wasn't good enough, and that we have to raise the demands. First of all, the internal demands. So the demands from the board to the coaches, coaches to players, players to coaches, coaches to staff, staff to players, players to staff. That whole circle had to change. Every project, every phase, in relation you take height, sometimes you have to release some weight as well if you want to keep going higher. You cannot go with the same weight, and some people can reach certain levels, sometimes others, and then they lack oxygen, and you want to go higher, you need to release something and bring something new, some different energy, more talent, more depth, whatever it is in the football club. And I think we've been very bold, and we've been very supportive with each other. I think each other has been in his lane, and I think that's something that I'm very proud of. And we've been able to discuss things very openly, make a decision, and once the decision is made, okay, we're going to evaluate whether it was wrong. It was our decision. It was never Mikel's decision, somebody else. It was our decision.
How far along do you think you are in the process? How close to what you imagined 5 years ago?
Well, obviously we are very close, because we've been competing with the best team in the history of the Premier League by far, for 2 seasons now, very closely. But there is so much to do. We have to start to win major trophies. We have to continue to be very consistent, and there is a lot still to evolve in many, many areas. So I think we are very far.
Still just as hungry? You talked about all the energy you had, a bundle of energy coming in, new manager. Is that still there?
And I enjoy more, I think, my profession now.
Go on, expand on that.
I think to a point that I always said that it was nothing like being a football player. And I really doubt that. There are moments in our profession that are much better than being a football player. When you really engage with people, with the staff, with supporters, and you feel that unity, what we mentioned before, that a club now is together and is with the same aim and is so connected, and you have contributed to that in a way that's so powerful.
And the last thing I'll say about that interview, one of us has aged a lot better than the other one.
Thank you.
You automatically assumed I meant you.
Okay. I hope so.
And I do.